Welcome to ZIPS Nation Insider. My name is Jacob Farrar. Joined as always. Wait a minute. We have a new person on. Well, not new.
Not new.
You've hosted before, but
I have.
You're filling in for Grant this week. Grant's on a vacation, well-deserved
vacation
so
for Grant.
Thanks, Chad, for showing up today. Appreciate that.
Of course.
So this week on campus, it is MAC basketball tournament week.
Yeah.
So should we start with the basketball team?
We can, sure.
Okay.
A lot of news came out today with the men's basketball team with Mid-American Conference awards, including the likes of Coach of the Year for Coach Gross.
Coach of the Year.
Defensive and Player of the Year for Nate Johnson. First time that's happened in Mid-American Conference since Bonzi Wells of Ball State back in 1998, I believe I saw the graphic say. Honorable mention for Isaiah Gray. First team for Nate Johnson and Tavara Johnson. For all freshman team in Sharon Young. And sixth man of the year, Shema Scott. So plenty of awards for the men's basketball team. And while we're at basketball, let's shout out Shelby Brown, third team All MAC for the women's squad in the awards they got that were announced yesterday. So congratulations to her and all the guys that got mentioned today.
So several of those have been on the podcast. So we're excited about that. I mean, we're not saying that there's correlation, but
no, there is. No, we have to. I mean, it's all about the manifesting that element of it. So
sure.
If you come on the podcast, be ready to succeed here at Akron. So that's the goal.
Well, before we get into that, I do need to give an apology to Tanisha Clark. Last week, I mentioned that Coach Nicholson was the first Canadian that we've had.
Oh,
that was incorrect.
Yeah,
so Tanisha, I'm sorry. Please accept my apology.
Did she call you out?
No, she did not, but
okay.
I felt bad about it.
All right, we always are meant to stand corrected, I guess, at points in time.
So let's finish up here with men's basketball. So they played, they finished the season against Buffalo on Friday with a win, 88-70.
Yep.
That put them perfect at home, 16-0 at home.
Unbelievable.
And finished the season 25-6. In that game, all players that played scored.
Yeah.
Which that's 11 players.
Yeah, 11 players got it.
So that is just unique. That rarely happens in this. Well, at least 11 players. Yeah, maybe all players will score, but they have it so deep.
And the crazy part, you have to give the shout out to Evan Wilson, who got his first start, also a member of our podcast, and scored the first basket that night to get the Zips started with a 3-0 lead. So props to the seniors, Isaiah, Seth, and Evan, who we honored prior to the game as well.
It was just a fun game to watch, and they led the whole game. I mean, it wasn't in doubt at all. So it was just great to see an all-around team effort. As I mentioned, never trailed. We got a couple players in double figures, or 14. Nate and Isaiah both scored 14 in that game. Led the Zips. So let's take a moment to just stop and talk about this season. So 25 regular season wins. That's most in program history. One of 7 teams to finish undefeated at home in the country. 17-1. That's a conference record for a conference record. So 17-1 conference record. That's most in modern MAC. That's the most in modern MAC history.
Sure.
And then best conference record in program history.
Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable season. And the crazy part of it was a lot of folks didn't know what type of team they were going to get, with the likes of Enrique Freeman leaving, Ali leaving due to graduation and whatnot. And then here they come back. Though picked second at the preseason within the conference, ultimately beat that by like 3 or 4 games too.
Also, I mean, their pre-MAC schedule was, they wasn't that great. I mean, they had some good home wins, but they had some losses. And so I think there was a lot of question marks that were completely answered, blown away. Fantastic season. We've talked to Coach about that. We've talked to the players. It's just a fun season for Zips fans, Zips Nation with this basketball team.
Absolutely.
Let's jump to women's basketball. You talked about Shelby. Again, the accolade of third team All MAC. That the season probably isn't what they wanted it to be.
Sure.
When we interviewed several of the members, this was before the MAC season started. Actually, before the season started.
Yeah, right around that non-conference start of the season. Yeah.
It's just tough season for them. This last game at Central Michigan lost 61-70. But there's some bright spots. I think looking forward, the thing that I'm excited about is just hopefully you get folks that come back, players that come back, specifically Shelby.
Sure.
Hopefully she comes back. Again, this is in the era of portals and NIL.
Yeah, of course.
This is a thing you have to add to everything.
Yeah.
But I think in my opinion, again, we'll love to get your thoughts. It's who are they going to get in the portal, but I mean, there's some bright spots to move forward with next year.
Yeah, and I think you can't downplay the guard play, but there was just the lack of maybe inexperience from the Division I style that they had to rely on. We were really hoping with Cam Rhodes to be that leader out there, and they ultimately had to go another route, and that's a big part of it, and not being able to have to be able to keep possession and then make the play. I will say the biggest thing that I'm excited for is likes of Naira Clark, the freshman post player, along to see what more developing she can do, along with some of the young ladies that haven't seen the floor yet.
Yeah,
and so it'll be worth a watch next year and see how they increase their wins from this year and improve next year.
And the injury bug. I mean, they were playing with 7 players playing on the bench. So, I mean, hopefully things will get back. Want the best for the women's basketball team. Let's talk baseball really quick. They opened up MAC play last weekend. Fortunately, dropped 3 against Eastern Michigan. Not really in any of those games where pretty much we were really not in it in a lot of those games. Sure. I think the big challenge that I saw was just leaving men on base. They had they can hit. They can hit. Pitching's still kind of the bugaboo that's always been for Zips baseball. But again, it's early in the season. Excited to see where things go with that. I mean, they already turned it around the other day. They beat Dayton.
Yeah, 10-5.
10-5.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So where most of those, at least going into I think the 7th or 8th inning, they were down. So like to see those bats come alive and get the win.
And they're gonna have a tough weekend this weekend with Bowling Green, with who they went 3-0 last week. So. But again, that you go out on the field and lay it out there, and I think Akron baseball can do some damage still. Again, like you said, it's early on in MAC season. So
let's we got softball also, but we have our guest today is from the softball team, so we won't dwell too much on that. But they are 12-11. They were 2-2 over the weekend, so they lost both games on Saturday, but came back both games on Sunday.
Yep.
And with wins against Cleveland State and Murray State, including a 9-1 drubbing of the Vikings.
That's awesome. And
got to use the word drubbing in
there you go. There you go.
Always on the podcast. And then again, they host MAC Play starts this weekend.
Yeah.
Hosting Ball State. So we're excited to have we have Alexis Campbell on here in a little bit. So we'll talk a little bit more about the softball season and what we're going to do. Just really quick, we have lacrosse. They lost 18-12 against Lindenwood. Noelle Boyd, though, who also has been on the pod, you interviewed her. He had 5 goals in that loss.
Yeah.
And they play. They begin MAC play. Actually, I think they're playing today, but then begin MAC play this weekend as well. Yep.
And then I think you also had some track information
so from a track and field perspective, MAC came out. MAC conference gave out some awards. Both Hunter Gerritsen and Bismack Kipchirchur took home some awards. MAC outstanding track and field performers of the year, and then Bismack also was freshman of the year. And then Randy Overby, one of the assistant coach, was MAC men's assistant coach of the year. Yeah. So again, capping off that great MAC championship season for the track team.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll mention, and then I'll pass it off to Lexi, is Swim and Dive is competing this week in what is kind of like the NIT version of swimming championships. So they're competing there, and Abby Daniel is competing in NCAA when that gets going as well. Got it.
Right. Well, thanks, Chad, for filling in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Come on, Lex.
Come on in. Lexi, have a seat. Have a seat. So, Lexi, I've wanted to interview you for a while. You are one of our most dedicated followers of Zips Nation Insider. We have an Instagram. Follow us. Look up Zips Nation Insider.
Do it.
Lexi, you are one of our very engaged with our content. So with that comes the reward of, you're now on the show. So
I do what I can. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So first off, welcome back to Akron. Do you remember where things are at? You guys have been gone for a month.
Longest time period it feels like, but I mean, it's a blast. It's nice always ending your travel season and getting the chance to kind of, resort back to home, and finally playing some games at home is always nice.
and then you play a weekend, and then you're right back on the road again. But
like always,
we'll get to that here in a little bit. So team is 12-11 with some wins against opponents we've heard of. So Michigan State and Bowling Green. Just bats come alive. We got some great pitching during that. I'm curious, as a senior on the team, how do these road games help you as a leader really kind of set some team chemistry, bond with the players? You talked about, the road section of the season, this kind of the pre-MAC portion. What does that do for you as far as a leader on the team and helping with the other players?
Yeah, I mean, I think it for sure helps with the players finding their own roles. You do a lot of traveling, you spend a lot of time together on the bus, you kind of learn each other a little more than you expect to learn each other at the beginning, but it's one of those things you kind of push through. In terms of playing all of these away games, you get to see a couple different faces. We're super young, and that's really important to note. In terms of leading them, for me, I personally just try to be a soundboard for them. This game is a game of failure. It's super frustrating. I won't lie about it. It's one of those things where when you're having a high, you're super high, and when it's low, you're low, For me, being a soundboard for them, letting them know that at the end of the day, I have their back, even if they have no confidence in themselves. I always have confidence in them, and this just kind of helps cement that.
Got it. I think that's a great attitude, and I'm sure those players help, or that helps those players. So let's talk about you a little bit. So you're from Indianapolis area, specifically New Palestine. So we went to high school. Is that how it's pronounced there?
We say New Palestine. I've heard both. At the end of the day, I think it's pretty interchangeable.
Got it. So how did you get recruited? How did you find yourself here in Akron?
So ironically, my journey to Akron was more of an academic thing. Okay. I wanted to be a biomedical engineer. And like nursing, like many people know, it's one of those majors where not everywhere's going to let you do it.
Sure.
So looking for a school, I knew that was the most important part for me, was being able to do both. And the University of Akron kind of fell into my lap through some friends, and I got pointed in that direction. I found my coach, and I rocked, and I was excited. And I got to do both. And as a senior, I think it's great, and I'm so thankful for that, honestly.
So how was that discovery? Was it just through sending tapes, sending video? Like, how did they know to recruit you? I mean, you said family friend. How did that?
My travel ball coach actually knew somebody that coached softball at Walsh Jesuit, I believe. I'm not from here. If I'm wrong.
Sure.
And he basically pointed me here. He was like, you want to be an engineer? Softball program, University of Akron. And I came here. I visited twice. I fell in love with campus, and here I am.
There it is. So how long have you been playing softball? Is that something you've been done your whole life?
Yeah, I started playing like t-ball and stuff when I was about 3. I started high level when I was right around 9. So this is my 13th year of high level softball, and I'm 22. That's crazier when you say it like
all
that.
All you know is softball.
Basically.
Got it. And then what pushed? Was it family, friends? Like, what pushed you into the sport?
Definitely family. My mom definitely had a big influence on that. My grandma also did too. She's at every single game. If you see her out there, it's Grandma Linda, I love you. She's there all the time, and they really just paved the path for me.
Are they coming from Indiana to come watch?
My grandma comes to every single game. She has not missed a college game that I have played in.
Oh my God.
Grandma Linda, if you're watching, I love you.
We love Grandma Linda now.
She will be there Friday. She drives from Indiana. She's coming up here tomorrow, actually.
Oh my goodness.
She does not miss.
Grandma Linda, we love Grandma Linda.
She's amazing.
Well, hopefully, Grandma Linda, you're watching this, and shout out to you. So I looked up your stats. So career 302.
That's great.
Hitter.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
You're about to tell me some stats I definitely didn't know.
Well, it's really from a stats, but that was the one that I was interested in. Just, you talked about, most of the time you're failing, right? Because 302, 70% of the time, but still, that's great.
Thank you.
Career 302, but also freshman All-MAC, as well as second team, All-MAC second team your freshman year, and then freshman All-MAC. So I was curious if you could scout yourself. Tell us about who you are as a player.
I can't give too much away. People will watch on film. As a hitter, I think I'm definitely more of a contact hitter. I think people would say that. I think Coach Craig would probably say that too. I try to spray all sides of the field. And defensively at third base, I just do my best to be annoying. I'll be honest. I don't like being the person that people think they can just push over. I kind of try to just run our defense and hope that everything falls into place.
Sure. And you played awesome at third base. The hot corner. I mean, those, if you've seen softball versus a baseball field, you are much closer to home plate than in baseball. And I've seen some balls hit quite hard in your direction, and you've come up with those. So let's talk a little bit about last season before we get into this season. So last season ended a little early.
For me, yes.
So talk a little bit injury.
Yes.
Okay. What happened, and then really kind of what you were thinking about. How was the season going before that injury?
Yeah. So actually, about a year ago this month, I sustained like a grade 3 ankle sprain, a really bad ankle sprain. And I sat out for a little bit. I ended up coming back playing on it. It really wasn't getting much better. I ended up going to the doctor, getting x-rays, found out I had a talar dome fracture, which is like a geriatric injury. Ended up having surgery, kind of sat that season out. Before then, I was doing about what I usually do in preseason, which is have a really high, have a really low, and kind of figure it out right before we go into conference. So it was really heartbreaking to deal with. I was very, very frustrated, I think, watching it kind of happen, especially being one of the people that I feel like can lead this team and just kind of watching us have to make an adjustment after that.
Yeah.
But the team really did well. They handled it great, and I think it all worked out.
Well, also, I mean, you had a great sophomore season. You were coming off a great sophomore season, going to your junior season, you get hurt. So looking into this off season, then was it okay? I got to get back because just of what happened. So what was kind of that mindset going into the off season?
Yeah, I struggled a little bit during off season mentally. When you sit out for a while, you kind of feel differently. You'd feel like you can't do some of the things you used to do. And especially, I mean, anytime you have surgery, I think that's one of those things. So I was just really pushing to get back. I wanted, to make sure I came back and was able to play 3 innings of our fall games if I could, was able to do 50% of the reps in practice. So I really pushed physical therapy over summer, and that was kind of my drive. And then as we kept going, it was just trying to feel comfortable again, because I didn't realize how uncomfortable I was during the injury when I played, and after I was just trying to find who I am.
Got it. So that goal was just get back to where you're at.
Yeah.
Where you were at, I guess, before the injury. Okay, let's talk about a little bit this season. So as we talked about before, you got 12 and 11, already played a month of games.
Crazy.
So what were kind of aside from getting back from an injury, what are some of your personal goals you have for this particular season?
I am going to go back to this conformality sort of thing. I really want to feel comfortable this season. I feel like I'm settling into this leadership role a little bit more. I am very much so about the team success over my own right now. And I think that's the first time I can say I'm 100% that way. I think everyone leans that way, one or the other, but I'm 100% more about their success. I want to feel comfortable. I want to support, and I just want to be able to leave this program better than the way it started this year, or better than when I came in. Got
it. With your contributions, so making sure it's kind of like, I think we mentioned this last week with Coach Nicholson, is rising tide raises all ships. If you're doing awesome, hopefully the team comes up behind you, especially you get some young players to be able to kind of match with what you're doing. Speaking of Coach Nicholson, so this is his 3rd year with the team. And you've played before him, you were on the team before. So what is that evolution? How has that change? How has it been as, 2 probably different styles of coaching? What have you seen from kind of your vantage point as a senior that it's kind of had, both sides of, so to speak, from a coaching?
We do a lot more hitting at practice, a lot more hitting at practice, a lot more uniform practice. Okay. I will say that was probably the biggest thing that changed when he came in. You got a lot more uniform, just lifestyle, honestly, from him. You got the ability to kind of feel like you could be yourself in the sense of finding who you are as a player, because comfort, it all relates right back there. Sure. That's what he wants. So that was probably the biggest change. You also, too, just kind of, for me, being a freshman and playing as a freshman, I definitely never settled in. And I got to settle in once he came here, and I thought that was great. He also changed my name to Alexis on the roster, so that part was nice. I appreciate that. It was a big change. I like that, too. But
making sure everything's official.
Yes.
Alexis. But we can call you Lexi, though. That's
yes, you can. Anyone can call me Lexi.
Got it. No, he's great. He's a fantastic guest last week. We were excited to have him on and talk about what he sees the future of the program, and definitely he's very high on what you guys are doing, and spoke to a number of players, including you, as people that can really lead this team to some good stuff. So as we talked about in kind of the earlier segment before you jumped on, open up against Ball State this weekend. How's the team feeling as we start going into MAC play? Feel like things are humming well? Are there things that need to be worked on? Or how do you feel about the team as we begin MAC play?
I think the team always has things to work on. I don't think any team in America is perfect. I will say I think they feel really good. I think our defense feels really good. I think we're working through. I think offensively, the hitters, I mean, everyone kind of watched us have a little bit of a blimp in the road. But it's one of those things we're working through, we're pushing. You're at the point now where you can kind of look and just figure out yourself. We're going to work on certain things during the week for what we're going to see, get a little bit more comfortable before you go out. I honestly think everyone's feeling good. I'm excited to see how MAC season goes.
Sure. Plus, it's also teams you've seen before, right?
Yeah.
So these are pitchers that you've seen before, in your position, hitters that you've seen before. Mm-hmm. So you talked about being comfortable. There is something that's not new. Maybe some of the games you played prior to MAC season, there's teams you've never played before, and so there's a lot of newness. But getting back to things that are more familiar with you, one of the teams the team will play is Kent State, and I've been curious about. We talk about Kent State with football and Kent State with basketball, but how does that rivalry kind of manifest itself even amongst some of these other sports like softball? Do you get up for the Kent game just as much as the basketball team gets up for the Kent game?
I don't know if we get up as much as the basketball team. Those games are crazy. I will say we definitely go hard for sure. I mean, we go hard all the time, but for the Kent game, it's definitely a little sweeter when you could push a win. I would love to win the series against Kent. Everyone would love to win a series against Kent. We always split, I feel like. Okay. So that would definitely be a big change. It's definitely, when it's Kent week, when it rolls around.
So that rivalry does have something even within softball.
Oh, for sure, especially because it usually ends up being very important in terms of the MAC standings. So it's definitely one of those things. We're usually right by each other, so the games are always important.
So there's always something on the line. Could be pride, it could be standing in the MAC. So there's a lot that goes into the Kent series. So you talked a little bit about this. So let's talk a little bit off the field. By the way, we're with Alexis Campbell, third baseman for the ZIPS women's softball team. Fourth year, started as a freshman, so a 4-year starter. So you talked a little about your major. So your major is engineering, biomedical engineering?
Biomedical engineering, yes.
So what are your plans after graduation? Have you started thinking, you are a senior, so that's coming around the corner. Have you thought about what's next?
Yeah, so I do have a job post-grad back home in Bloomington, Indiana, actually. I'll be a manufacturing quality engineer.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm very much so looking forward to it. It was a nice breather to kind of get done and handled as we go into season, so I can kind of just focus on what's going on and enjoy the last ride that I've got.
So were you able to do a co-op then over a summer?
I did not co-op.
Oh, wow.
So I actually was just lucky enough to apply for a job there. I got an interview. I actually got declined from the first job that I got, but I got second, so they had me interview for another one, and I ended up getting that one. So is it in biomedical engineering or what? Yes, so it's a biomedical engineering-based field. It's quality engineering, so basically I'll be looking at, for example, I'll be on the manufacturing floor of a catheter, and I'll make sure that it goes out correctly, and I'll handle complaints if it doesn't and work on it and do some root cause analysis and stuff.
And she hits home runs. So
I do what I can.
This is crazy. That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Engineering is tough by itself. Now add you play a sport that even though the season is in the spring, but you guys play year round. You're playing.
It's a lot.
So how do you keep up with those obligations of in the classroom as well as, on the field? What does that balance look like? And how do you balance your life?
If you would ask me that freshman year, I would have told you not sleeping and crying. I definitely turned it around. I will say once you find, I'm a big schedule person.
Okay.
I find a schedule the minute the semester starts and I work off of it. I write things down and I pay attention. The biggest thing though I will say is communicating with professors and using your resources. Mark Smith over in the academic department for athletics, me and him are tight. We are tight. And I use him whenever I can. And really just holding on to those things, trusting that at the end of the day, it will be okay. Sure. Even when you're overwhelmed, it all works out. So again, when we think about student athletes, engineering is probably, not the major that a lot of student athletes, but how does that department, the faculty have helped you with that as well, just kind of balancing? I've had a great experience with the biomedical engineering department, the engineering department. I think it's harder when you're younger and the classes are a little bigger. You're taking more of your general classes. But as I've really gotten older, I've got some professors over there that I love dearly that have been amazing, that are just as excited for me as some of the athletic people are. And I think that's amazing. So
have you been able to find, kind of thinking about like a Venn diagram, your engineering world and your softball world? Is there anything in the middle that there's an overlap at all?
The girls
a lot of math in engineering. Is there any math that goes into?
The girls come to me a lot for a lot of random questions. I answered a question today that was just, I don't even know. I get asked a lot of questions. I call myself the knower of things because that's how they treat me, even though I definitely do not know everything. I will say, I think Coach Craig makes fun of us a little bit for being engineers. I'm very type A.
Got it.
Or when I can't figure out something simple, that definitely comes out. But otherwise, I really just I usually have to keep my engineering brain in check.
Got it.
Most of the time out here.
So you're able to kind of compartmentalize and separate. Are there other engineering? Do you know of any other student athletes that are engineering?
I do. Cassidy Allen, actually, congrats on your 2P. She's a biomedical engineering major as well.
Okay.
And she's a pole vaulter. So
Okay.
I know of her. I know that there are a couple more. Max Bowman was one on the baseball team. He's a grad now.
Yep.
He was a biomedical engineer. Those are the two I know directly.
Golly, that's great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So last week we asked Coach Nicholson about just women's sport in general, right? So you've seen this rise in popularity of women's sport. You know, volleyball, the Nebraska volleyball team sold out, their football stadium. Yeah. You've seen, obviously, women's basketball with Caitlin Clark last year and just that rise. But softball has also seen an influence of more popularity. Last year alone, the Women's College World Series had a record number of viewers in the final. So where do you, as a softball player, where do you think that popularity is coming from, and how has it affected kind of you being a role model to younger players? Because there's now more eyeballs watching softball.
I think a lot of that popularity comes from social media, the growth of just everything, included the growth of women's sports. I also think, you have a bunch of little girls who want to play, and you have a bunch of college players at any level willing to teach them and willing to instill the faith in them that they can one day become that college athlete, whether it's at the D2, D3, and AIA. I mean, we're all college athletes, and that's important. It doesn't matter what level you're at. So I think that's really cultured it. The growth of travel ball has also grown because of that. I remember when I was playing travel, there were like 4 main teams. There's like 17 million now. So I definitely think, having more people instilling faith in these younger girls that they can do this stuff and watching it grow on the media, get the attention it probably deserves, has really just cultured that. And I think it'll just continue to skyrocket.
So we talked about engineering, but do you see coaching something that you want to continue to do, or once you graduate softball, you're done, or what? How do you think that's going to continue on after you graduate? Have you even thought about that?
I think my mom would love to hear me say that I would be a coach. I think I will probably be done with softball once it's done. For me, I'm not going to lie, my body's been through a lot. Coaching, I think it could be something I maybe enjoy later in my life if I have like friends, kids that want to do it, maybe do more of a lessons type thing. I've done that in the past, but I think once my cleats are up, my cleats are going up. But it's been a great ride, and I'm super excited to keep it going for the next 2 months.
We have this season, right? They're not done yet.
They're not done yet.
We still have this season to go. So we have some questions that we like to ask all of our guests. You may have seen some episodes where we've talked about this. So do you have any pregame rituals or superstitions, things that you need to do, Lexi, in order to make that game go right?
I do not.
You don't?
I probably used to. I do not have any pregame rituals or superstitions. At least I don't think so. I might have habits that I probably don't notice. The team has one. We do one before games. Sometimes we don't do it during a doubleheader, but we always line up on the line and I don't know how to describe this, but we like count down and we pick a person and we run past them and like slap them. It's like kind of funny. You'll see us do it at home games. You'll see us do it on away games. That's probably the one ritual we do every game day. Every game day.
Have to do that.
At least once every game day.
But personally, there's not where it's certain socks, certain shoes, tie your shoes a certain way.
Nope. I just go for it.
Go for it. All right. So if we're visiting you in New Palestine, Indiana, make sure I get the name right. This is our question about hometown pizza. Where are we going to pizza? Where's your favorite pizza place back home?
We don't really have any like pizza places. I mean, in New Pal, you have Mozzie's Pizza, which, I mean, it's pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I'd say Mama Anita's. I used to go there all the time.
Mama Anita's. And is that in?
It is in dead center New Pal, 2 minutes, maybe less from the high school. They have a buffet. I used to love their dessert pizza. Shout out that dessert pizza. It was fire. And I loved it there. So I'd say there.
Mama Anita's. New Pal, that's how you guys say it, New Pal.
Yep.
New Pal. Okay, so that's where we're going for hometown pizza. All right, our last segment, not my last question, but our last segment is our rapid fire segment. So rapid fire, we've got some rapid fire questions. So first thing that pops into your head, and a rapid fire segment is brought to you by 330 to Go, which is Northeast Ohio's hottest and fastest growing news, media, and entertainment network. Great. So again, first thing that pops into your head.
I'm ready.
Sunflower seeds or chewing gum, your favorite snack in the dugout?
Sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds. Guilty pleasure television.
Oh, gosh. That's a hard one. Guilty pleasure television? I'm not doing well at rapid fire right now. I'm a big Gilmore Girls fan. I don't think a lot of people think that. I will spam watch that show.
So even though it hasn't been on, you'll still go back and watch old episodes?
Oh yeah, I'll watch all of it again.
All right. Your favorite softball cheer or chant?
Right now, it's probably 3 big booms in the dugout if you hear it. I think they do it when the pitcher strikes somebody out. I also like when our pitchers field a ball in their position. You hear PFP yelled a lot because pitchers like playing positions, pitchers fielding positions.
Okay.
I think that's really funny to hear.
Coach Nicholson is thumbs down on chants. So that's
100%.
He is not a fan. We thought that was funny in our last episode. But you're pro chants, but those are the ones that's your favorite.
To an extent. Plus, we still do them. I won't lie. They still happen. They still happen in the dugout. He knows that too.
So you talked a little bit about team tradition or superstitions. Is there any favorite team tradition? Do you have any team traditions besides the lineup?
That one's probably top tier. We don't do a whole lot of other tradition stuff though. That's kind of our big thing right there before games. I like going to Coach Nicholson's house before. We usually go for a Christmas party. That's probably a good team tradition right there. Good food.
Who's the best dancer on the team?
Sydney Hubler.
What position does she play?
She is an infielder.
Infielder?
Yep.
Because I take pictures for softball, and I got some great pictures of the shortstop doing some dancing too. I think it was in sync.
That was me and DJ. I will say I remember I think it was I Want It That Way actually, and she's pointing at me playing third base. That was me and DJ. We get down out there a little bit sometimes.
I have pictures of that. But who's the best? Again, who's the best dancer?
Sydney Hubler. But I will say shout out to all of you that make the TikToks because I know that I'll have some teammates coming at me for that one. But I'm going to say Sydney Hubler.
Favorite emoji?
I really like the one with the stars in its eyes.
Stars in its eyes. Okay.
Yep, it's like smiling with the stars in its eyes.
Favorite athlete?
Mine used to be, she retired a while ago, but it was Maddie Shipman. I grew up loving her. She was a shortstop on the Tennessee Volunteers for a long time. I grew up loving her. How
did you find out? I mean, just from watching that?
I grew up a shortstop, and way back when camps were everything. I went to a couple Tennessee camps, but I loved watching her play and all the postseason stuff, and it was just one of those things. For me, it was Derek Jeter and Maddie Shipman.
Got it. So shortstop, but then let's take a step back. How did you make the transition from short to third?
I grew up playing shortstop actually in all of travel ball. At New Pal, I ended up playing third base in high school. I played a little bit of second base my freshman year, and then when I went to New Pal my sophomore year, I played some third base and got moved over. Played it there, and then came to college as a shortstop. I did get recruited as a shortstop, and then we had a couple injuries. I think were trying to maybe put me in the lineup as a hitter, and then with an injury, they moved me over to third, and that's all she wrote. I've been at third ever since.
Your freshman year?
Yeah, my freshman year.
You played third for the ZIPS, even though shortstop was the position that...
This is technically like 3.5 years. This is only my, I guess, like third full year really playing it.
Got it. So last question for rapid fire. Visor or headband?
I'm a headband person. I have one on right now. I used to wear both, and then I stopped doing it. I used to do both, and then I would wear the visor for 1 inning, and then I'd rip it off. So I'm going to say headband, but I think the visor also looks nice.
Visor, okay. All right, final question. So as we begin MAC play, you've already played a month worth of games, but why should fans be excited about this year's women's softball team?
I think they should be excited because this is definitely the most talented team I've seen us have since I've been in college, maybe even a little bit before. You know, our games are fast. Our games are fun to watch. You can come sit right out in Coleman Commons on the grass and watch. I mean, enjoy a day in the hammock. I think we have the best location on campus, and I think that's just something you can't pass up.
Tickets are free. When the sun's out, there is no excuse to come.
On a day like this, come out there. I mean, it's going to be 71 degrees this Friday. Come watch a softball game,
There we go.
Get some Starbucks. It'll be a great time.
And watch Lexi take some sharply hit ground balls at third base.
Do what I can.
Lexi, thank you so much for being on the show. We're excited about this season, and we wish you the best, wish the team the best. And again, we got an exciting team. Come see us here at Lee R. Jackson Field, right on campus. I mean, literally in the middle of campus.
In the middle.
Fantastic field. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.